Sometimes when I'm thinking about us, before we got lost and we parted, back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight. This time we're not safe and sound, not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. Sometimes when I'm reasoning about us, I know you got me, it's so effortless. Back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight. No, this time we're not safe and sound, not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the FPV News with JB and ItsBlunty. And I have to keep talking because Blunty is frantically researching a item that we added at the last minute. Did you get it, Blunty?
Yeah, I think we got enough. I think we got a good idea what's going on.
Yeah. Some moves in Red Cat stock today that
Yeah.
we started researching like 5 minutes before the show began. And then we were like, oh, crap, we need to talk about this. So we will be talking about that. But first, Blunty, we have to talk about what happened to your head, man. Do you want to... I know people are going to ask. You don't have to say, but everybody's going to... Are you okay?
Yeah, so my thought is, I think we'll leave this one up to a mystery for the chat, and they can
Okay.
fill in what they think might have happened.
Okay.
Is it a 5-inch? Did I get in a bar fight? Did I...
Oh, nice.
Yeah, who knows? So...
Okay.
Yeah.
There's one other thing that we have to acknowledge before we get going, and that is this. So, hello, chat. Welcome. This is my main stream right here. I'm watching you guys in the chat. I'm watching the beautiful patrons in the Discord, my favorite people, because they... No, I love you all equally. But the person I especially love tonight is the person who left a $200 in super chats before the stream began. And I went into my super chat history in my YouTube dashboard. This person is named TA, and they have a question. What are your thoughts on a drone frame with... That's it. There is no way... your generosity astounds me. There is no way for... You left the super chat before the stream began, and now there is no... Oh, wait! Did it show it? I was hovering over it. Did it pop up? I thought it popped up. I don't... Oh, there it is. side props to spin turbine bearings to redirect air in addition to the motors and internal magnet wire motor on my channel. Okay, so normally we don't do this sort of thing during the news. TA, I will get back to you on that if I can figure out who your freaking channel is.
Yeah, I would say reach out, shoot a message, or reach out on Discord or on...
Yeah, hit me up, TA.
Leave a comment. It's impossible. Oh, there he is. He's in chat. Okay, so if you can leave a comment somewhere... Yeah, there's no way, like, if you right-click on people's names, you can't actually get their user profile. So, like, I can't go to your page if I wanted to. So you got to find a way to link that. If you put in the comments after this is over, then we'll be able to see your
or
profile.
just email me, joshuabardwell@gmail.com. In other news, I got a $200 super chat. So, I mean, that's not normally how we do the news, but that is pretty newsworthy. Nevertheless... Tia, I can't find your channel, so hit me up. Let's talk about whatever you want to talk about, because for $200, I will talk to you for a good long while. But for now, we're going to talk about the news, and what do we got, Blunty? We got lined up for this week.
All right. So first, we're going to talk about Gemfan responding to some defective F3 and F4 props. Some people might have seen a video you released. We have an update on that and a response from Gemfan, so we'll talk about that in just a bit here. We've got somewhat breaking news here. In the last few hours, RCAT stock has taken off. So we'll take a look at some tweets about that and speculate about things we don't know much about.
Gemfan Hobby here in the chat. Is that you? Is that him? Is that the same guy we've been talking to?
Yes, I believe so.
Oh, okay. Well, good to see him.
We'll look at Michael Rollins, his minimalist FPV setup that he takes in a little bag with him to go, making it easy to get around. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah, very minimalism, very hot these days. So minimalist. I don't know anyone who goes to fly FPV without a gigantic bag full of everything. So when Michael Rollins said, I've made a minimalist FPV setup, I was like, hey, that sounds like news to me.
Community Spotlight, Bluey X5 makes a Snap-in Express LRS module bay print for 2.4. We looked at a 900 one before, so we'll take a look at that. Rotor Riot has a new video out I thought was pretty cool, where they build an HD Y-Copter.
Okay.
I'm calling it a Y-Copter.
Okay, I was waiting for you to call it a tricopter.
Yes.
They call it a tricopter throughout the video, and I kind of know why they did, but I was like, it's not a tricopter. Anyway, we'll talk about it.
Rotor Riot, or let's see. So we'll also do a Mars Ingenuity update, and we haven't talked about the Mars Ingenuity in about a month, and they've done a few flights, including the last one, which is the farthest and longest and fastest they've done yet. So take a look at that. The DJI V2 goggles are back in the news. Surprise, surprise.
I'm so relieved. Sorry, I'm interrupting. I'm so relieved, Blunty, because when we first started doing the news, the DJI FPV goggles hadn't released yet, and practically every week we talked about leaks and rumors, and now there's been nothing to talk about, and it just felt empty. And now it's back.
Yeah, now it's back. So unfortunately, there is a blackout issue with the DJI V2 goggles. If you've taken the new 1.02 update, you may want to roll back, and we'll talk about that and link to a video from Mads Tech. And then last but not least, we're going to go on a quick rant. I'm going to rant about the fact that a lot of boards have their own targets, and those targets don't get updated, and they're not easy to find, and they have weird mappings, and it's hard to get. So,
all right. Yeah. Well, we'll see who you piss off this week, Blunty, with your out of control ranting. And I would like to say there was a topic that I wanted to add this week, and Blunty was like, you know what? I feel like that's we shouldn't do that. That's a little over the line. And I was like, okay, And so for everybody who thinks you're the one who's always ranting and I'm the one, how did I get to be the one who is like reserved? Right?
I don't know. I guess I just go off sometimes, but yeah.
I had a conversation with someone, I won't say who was annoyed at one of our rants. And he was like, I think it was over the line. And I was like, yeah, I know, Blunty. I was like, wow. How did that happen? All right. Anyway, we're going to start with a discussion of this Gemfan, the F3 and F4 props. I released a video about this today. I tested these props a couple weeks ago. Thank you, Gemfan, for giving them to me at Rampage. Sorry it took me so long to actually fly them. That's how it is. And I flew them, and I was like, yeah, they fly okay. But then I flew 8 packs, and I broke like 4 props or whatever. I broke 1 or 2 props on every one of my flights. You do the math. And I was like, this is unacceptable. And I told him as much. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm sure they'll do something about it. Because I'm not going to take one sample and just like blow up the internet. But I didn't review them. I was like, I'm not going to review these props. I'm going to wait. But then I started hearing more stories of people. I was like, oh, people are actually having problems with this. And I released a video today saying, don't buy these props. And kudos to Gemfan, who is actually in the chat right now. So anybody who has comments, you can certainly talk to them. They made a statement. And they said basically, well, what did they say, Blunty?
Yeah, so quite a few different things here. We talked to Mike, who's the international media rep for Gemfan, who's been in the chat, I'll just say, for the last few weeks in a row.
It's true. He's not just here tonight because he knew we'd be talking about him. He's been in the chat for weeks, just chatting and chilling and hanging out, and it's always good to see.
Yeah, and so they issued a response, and they said, basically, hey, guys, look, there hasn't been a public statement yet. For the last 2 weeks, we realized this was an issue. We stopped making all the old ones. We stopped shipping them. We tried to figure out what all the issues were. We made a bunch of new props. We tested them with a bunch of pilots, and we think we have a good prop ready to go that's going to be shipping. So they're going to do 2 major things here for pilots to make up for these issues. So one of them is going to be that everyone who buys who bought one of these Gemfan props, the F3 or the F4 currently, and they want to get a free set of props, they can message Gemfan. There'll be a contact at Gemfan, and Gemfan, you'll reach out to them, and they'll give you a free set of props with your proof of purchase for all your old props that you bought to make up for any of those issues. And then if you buy any new props when these new sets of F3s and F4s come out, for the next month, once these release for a month after, everyone who buys these props, new and old customers alike, will get a free set of props with their props. So basically you buy one, get one free for every prop you get. And this is every retailer worldwide will have this offer from Gemfan for a month.
Yeah. Now, why a month?
Because a month is how long they've currently been out. And people have been able to purchase them, and they've been like a bad prop or whatever. So.
And I also asked Mike. I said, "Well, Mike, how are you going to resell? Some retailers are just going to keep selling the old props. They're not going to care." And Mike said they're going to issue a recall. They're not issuing a consumer recall. If you have the props and you want to fly them, go ahead. They fly fine. They're just really, really fragile. But from retailers, they're going to issue a recall and ask retailers to send them back, so that they will hopefully get them, because if people kept selling them, it wouldn't be any good. So It sounds like Gemfan is doing about as good. I mean, I always say everyone will make a mistake eventually. Everyone will release a bad product eventually, no matter how good you are and how good your QC is. What really matters is not that something went wrong, but how you respond to it. That's where you make the difference. And I'm pretty happy with Gemfan's response, replacing the props for people who have purchased them with proof of purchase. That's reasonable. Yep. And then sort of a month-long buy one, get one free promotion just to say, oops, we're sorry. Thank you to the people out there in the world.
Yeah, hey, we believe in these props, so buy them. You'll get them for half price, basically, because you get 2 sets, and then hopefully you'll fly them and like them. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good way to earn some customers. Yeah. The other thing I want to say is they also mentioned that they did quality checks from their beta testers, but they felt that the beta testing wasn't done very well. So Mike is revamping the beta testing program. He's got a bunch of new testers, and he'll be sending those out to a new team and be taking better data and making sure they're getting good information from those beta testers. So.
And I'm not going to name names, but Mike told me one of the pilots he's brought on as a beta tester, and I can assure you this is a guy who pulls no punches and takes no shit from anyone and doesn't care. Well, I've kind of almost given away his identity. You could probably start guessing, but let's not. And when I heard that he was one of the new beta testers, I was like, oh, Gemfan's really taking this seriously. So there you go. So I'm actually gonna, after the live stream, I'm gonna cut this segment out and re-upload it to my channel just to make sure that everybody who saw the old video was originally titled "Do Not Buy These Props," But then now that Gemfan has responded, I feel like we'll take a little bit of a softer tone and make sure all the information's out there. So I'll be re-uploading this segment to my channel. If you see it again later, that's why. Anyway, is that it?
All right.
Is that it for that one? Okay,
I think
great.
that's about good. If we missed anything, I'm sure Gemfan will let us know in the chat.
Okay, great.
But yeah, I think that's, like you said, I think that's a great response, and I'm happy to see that roll out. So.
Okay.
All right.
Gemfan obviously is welcome to talk about who their beta testers are if they prefer. I just didn't want to spill stuff that was told to me in a private conversation. So that's up to them. Blunty. On the live stream yesterday, someone said, what are some publicly traded FPV companies? I want to invest in FPV. And I said RedCat. RedCat, that owns Rotor Riot, Fat Shark, and Lugu Studios, among others. Publicly traded on the NASDAQ.
Yeah.
And then today, the stock price went up.
Yeah.
So I think I am a rainmaker. No?
Yeah, or you just happened to catch a trend, whatever happened. We at least wanted to point it out, you know. But yeah, RedCat's had a little spike, like kind of back up to where it was before you mentioned something, basically, back up to where it was like a while back, but
I mean, what's 6 months? There we go. Here's 6 months out, it was over $6.
Yeah.
Now it's closer to, but if you look at like the 5-day, it's a big bump.
Yeah, it's had quite a little spike. And so I pulled a couple tweets from the stock twits about this, but there's a bunch of rumors about, you know, people, as there always is, people calling different targets, you know, 350, 370, $5, $8, all kinds of crazy stuff. So obviously we're not traders, but
yeah. RedCat, today's volume of 11.9 million is the highest on record. 4 times the max volume ever traded. There's a big fish splashing in the pond. And the other one is this one. RedCat was obviously manipulated by some chat room trading group. Not saying it's a bad stock. This is just a blip. It just, for no reason, it won't bounce back down. Somebody else disagrees.
Yeah, I tried to pull some bearish and some bullish and all that kind of stuff. So.
Well, now there was a rumor. Now this isn't linked.
That was
is this linked? Oh, the first one. Yeah. Now this one is the most interesting. Let's be honest. If the rumors are true, this is going to be much, much higher than 350. What is the rumor? There were a few posts earlier today of this being a possible Amazon target. What? I don't know where those. We weren't able to find any of those rumors, but
yeah,
Amazon to acquire RedCat.
This is our disclaimer. Don't buy anything that we say to buy just because we say to buy it, because we're not telling you to do that. But hey, here's some information about some stocks.
Yeah. One Eye FPV says, next on the FPV news, Bardwell gets a call from the SEC. I am not a Rotor Riot employee. I am not employed by Rotor Riot. I also do not have any insider information. The fact that I'm talking about this should actually convince you that I don't know anything. If I did know anything, like I knew when RedCat was going to go public. Before they went public, I didn't say anything about it because they called us all in a room and they said, we're about to tell you something that if we tell you it, you can't talk about it. So if you want to leave the room now, then you can leave the room. We're like, okay. They said RedCat is going to go public. And now that you have this information, do not buy or sell any stock or you're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah.
I also don't hold RedCat for what it's worth. Nothing against RedCat. I just don't hold really any stocks.
Yeah, me either. So a bunch of people on Twitter said stuff about stocks. So hey, we want it's just a lot of jump, a lot of stuff going on. So
I claim it.
And
I claim that's the Bardwell bump.
I was going to say, and I will say that you know, we did put RedCat on the news about, like, you know, they actually have an agenda and like a plan, and they have like a business model. And the only thing they're doing is not making money. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, do we know that?
I'm pretty sure.
Do we know? Have they made statements or anything?
I think there were. I didn't pull them for this or anything, but I'd have to go look and see. I'm pretty sure the balance sheets have been negative. But yeah, we'd have to double check.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think Amazon's going to buy RedCat. I don't know who saw that rumor or whatever, or what drove that. Well, we have no idea.
Probably rumors to drive the stock price up.
Yeah, exactly. Someone out there released a rumor that Amazon was going to... And now I'm playing into it.
Yeah. we're all the piece of the puzzle, man.
I'm really glad I don't hold Red Cat because it means I can talk about them and no one can accuse me of manipulating the stock. That's a good point. Alrighty.
All right.
Well, someone in the chat says Fat Shark had profits last quarter. I think I would bet that Rotor Riot is profitable.
Yeah.
I mean, Rotor Riot's been around long enough that if they weren't profitable, you'd think they would have gone out of business. Anyway. Okay, moving on. What's next,
Michael? Yeah, Michael Rollins has a new video out that was pretty cool. He shares his minimalist FPV setup that he is kind of using to, get out and fly more. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I thought Michael told me I did an interview with him, and it's going to be coming out on his channel, I don't know when, soon, hopefully. And he told me about this minimalist setup, and he said, there were always times when I kind of wanted to go fly, but I wasn't ready to fly, and, there were all these hurdles in the way. So I made this minimalist setup, and basically I just keep this in my car or keep it wherever, and at any time I can just grab it and go fly with, no hesitation. Lightweight 5-inch, got all his things, and I was like, dude, you should make a video about that. People would eat that up. So this is pretty cool. This is all he needs to go fly.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely vibe with that same idea. There's a lot of times where it's just like, man, I don't really feel like getting all the batteries together and putting everything in the backpack and making sure I have it all and getting there and missing stuff. And having a little go bag like that is a good idea.
Yeah. They even got the quad on there. It's just ready to go. Everything you need. This is why... that's about it. So, hey, there. Look at his new set. He's got a great set, too. Totally dig his set.
Reminds me of when I used to play in a folk band. That's like I said. We would play.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know you played in a folk band.
Trombone. I played trombone in an 8-piece folk band.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know you. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
So we learned something. That's news right there.
Mysteries abound.
It's a trombone accident.
Yes, the trombone. There you go. You figured it out.
I said to Michael, I said, this is why people talk about the value of an FPV backpack, and you don't have to buy an FPV backpack like a Torval or a Pit Stop, whatever. But having a dedicated bag that you keep your FPV stuff in is valuable. You'll see, you can't see it in this camera view, but my bag is behind me on the table, and I store my goggles and my controller in it instead of putting them out on the table. And what it means is that at any time when I want to go fly, I just close the bag and I go. I'm ready to go, and it really helps. So that's a little tip for you. Whether you build a minimalist setup like Michael or whether you want to be a little bit more of a maximalist, have your stuff in a bag, ready to go, as ready to go as possible, and you'll fly more. So, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. There's a link to that down in the video description if you want to go check out his whole video about it. Next up, we got something related to Express LRS, right, Blunty?
Yeah, so we have a little community spotlight. One of our community members, Bluey X5, created a snap-in 2.4 gigahertz Express LRS module bay 3D print. And we previously featured one for 900 megahertz, and he was like, man, I wish I had one for my radio. And so he made one and then offered it up to everybody else. He said he went through 12 or 15 iterations to make it work, which I definitely understand trying to mess with stuff with 3D printing. But yeah, it seems like it works pretty well. So kudos to him.
And the big advantage of this is that it's screwless, right? It snaps together.
Yeah, everything's
also
snapping. The board snaps in and the outside snaps together. And yeah.
Yeah, there's no... Can I get a bigger version of this picture? I guess I can't. Can I Oh, screw you for breaking my right click. Yeah, so it's there's no screws, and the screws are a weak point on some of the other designs. The screws either strip out or they don't hold the board securely when you insert it and take it out of your radio. So obviously this is a new design, so there's no time will tell how well it holds up, but a lot of the Express LRS people are really happy with these screwless designs. I'm just thinking about how this would print. Do you print this with supports, Blunty? Is that just is that like a 45-degree overhang?
Yeah, that'll print. You can print that.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, he's been smart about it. So sometimes you see people make these 3D designs, and like there was one I did, which was an Orca. Let me see if I can find it.
I suspect that's part of the iterations, you know.
Yeah. I tried to download this and print this Orca goggle strap retainer, and the problem, well, you can't quite see it here, but you have to print supports in here because these things aren't tapered, right? And as a result, it's really hard to remove the supports because these are really thin walls. And I was like, I should just download it and remix it, right? But I wish it had been done differently. Not everything that you find on Thingiverse is actually easily printable.
Yeah, and also some are made from like resin printers and stuff that overhangs won't affect as much.
That's true.
Things like that. So.
Yeah. I got some other people here in the Discord posting their sort of minimalist setups. We'll just give a little shout out here to Mr. Huggy. Mr. Huggy's setup here. He's got 2 pictures here. Hold on. Here's the second one. You got some tools and got your goggles and stuff. Really nice. I like a Leatherman, Blunty. So I would have a Leatherman instead of these pliers because I think you get a lot more sort of bang for your weight. These pliers are nice.
I feel like I need I guess it depends on the Leatherman, but I need a lot of Leathermans are like bulky, and like they don't feel very good to use to me. So like,
you're not wrong.
Yeah, like a nice small Leatherman would be cool.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. On the other hand, here's one from Johnny D. Again in the Discord. Johnny D says here's his setup. Yeah, got a little bit more going on there. I've also just now, Johnny D, I've just now figured out that Johnny D RC on my Discord is John Ducci in Messenger. I did not know. I recognize your setup from Messenger, so I've just now put those 2 names together. People have different names in different places, Blunty. I don't know.
Yeah, that is it's a common internet thing.
There we go.
I feel like that's an issue all over the internet. I started putting my handle on everything so that I could be the same everywhere.
Yeah. That's why you're ItsBlunty.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, TA, let me get a couple super chats here. TA, thank you for $2. TA says, shout out to World War II mechanics. Also, TA left another $1. And Stephen Covington left a $1 super chat. No message. Just, yeah. Thank you guys for your donations. Let's see here. Next up, Blunty, we have a copter from Rotor Riot. Let's take a look at this video real quick. I'm sure Rotor Riot won't mind if we show some of their content. This is another one of Sean's creations. Sean has been making, let me see if I can find it here. Sean's been making some crazy stuff lately. This is a coaxial Y. Now, this looks like a tricopter, but it's not, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So tricopter typically, right, would only have 3, as you can see here, right? They're showing David Windestall's version. It would typically have the servo in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you're going to get yaw on the back side. And yeah, they're solving for that basically by adding a second motor on the bottom.
Mm-hmm. So it's essentially a quadcopter in terms of, well, not quite the mixer, but it has 4 motors and it gets yaw by counter torque between the motors, and by having those 2 motors on the back, they spin opposite directions and they cancel out the yaw. So that leaves the big question, which is like, what's the advantage? Have you ever flown one of those?
I have not. I've never flown one. I think the advantage is that I don't know, it's cool.
Yeah, there you go. No, you're not wrong about that. I flew one of those a long time ago. There was one that was sent to me as a review, and I thought it flew pretty cool. I'm not sure that it has that sort of swooshy feel that a tricopter has.
Yeah.
You'd think it would have really good, like maybe really good roll axis authority because it's more centralized.
Yeah, Vanover rips it pretty hard later in the video. It does like power loops through gazebos and stuff.
Yeah, and, let's take a look at that.
I mean, he basically flies it like, he flies it like a real quad.
All right, we're gonna turn the sound up for this one, but let's
like
see
the opinion of like a pro pilot, like a veteran who's been flying for thousands of years.
Yeah, somebody that's like really picky, maybe has a lot of input
and really opinionated on their stuff.
We're gonna find something like that.
All right. This bit is hilarious.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, Alex, where'd you come from?
It doesn't matter. I heard you have a new drone, though.
Oh, please don't be copyrighted music. I'm going to turn the music off. Oh. So Vanover rips it. I don't know what that means about how it flies, because Vanover could probably rip anything. That's pretty hilarious, though.
Yeah, he talks about it a little bit. He says basically, you know, he thinks he could probably guess it's a tricopter. I mean, no surprise there, but he said he definitely likes it. He likes it more than that little shark bite quad they made.
The little micro quad.
Yeah.
It's the same hardware as the micro quad, right?
Yeah, he said he thinks it flies better. That's pretty cool.
Well, this is a coaxial Y quadcopter. Betaflight has people asked in the chat, you know, what if I wanted to build one? Oh my God, look at that power loop. People asked in the chat, what if I wanted to build one of these? Betaflight, the mixer is called Y4. You just go into the mixer in the configuration tab and set the mixer as a Y4, and it can fly. And if you want to build one, but you need the frame. So they're talking about maybe they'll cut the frame.
Yeah, they'll sell it. They even turtle. It even turtles. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Cool.
Never seen one of those before. So.
Will it turtle on the pitch axis? I guess it would. I don't see why it wouldn't. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right.
Moving on.
So, moving on to the Mars Ingenuity update. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've done an Ingenuity update. Last time we talked about it, Flight 6 was the big thing. And they had shaky video issues. They were having some problems getting it down, all that kind of stuff. But the result of that, they got it back, and they went for Flight 7 and Flight 8. Turns out they were using color video, and the color video bit rate was too high, and it was like lagging the frame rate. So they were trying to do navigation based on the color, and it was like displacing it, and it was causing it to oscillate.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I'm kind of surprised they're navigating like in real time with video. I would think it would be completely autonomous.
I guess they weren't able to. Yeah, I mean, they basically tell it where to go, and then it decides how like it's doing on the flight. Like its controls are based partially on that picture.
I see. So they're hitting waypoints.
Yes, and then they're telling it, hey, go over here, and then like make sure you look at what's under you the whole time, so you can keep a frame of reference, and that frame of reference makes sure we're not shaking all over the place. Mm-hmm. But like that control is actually causing them to shake all over the place. So.
There you go.
So anyway, Flight 7 went great. It was a 106-meter flight for 63 seconds. Flight 8 was a 160-meter flight for 78 seconds. Those were all good. Then they pushed an update to the quad. So we talked previously about the watchdog issue, which was basically where, you know, there were two pieces of the helicopter, and they were trying to talk to each other. And so one would load something into RAM, and the other would look at the thing in RAM. And it wasn't working correctly. It wasn't like flashing the RAM properly. So they were doing some like hack to make it work. They pushed a firmware update. Everything works properly now. They fixed it on Mars. You know, everything's good to go.
Talk about trusting your bootloader, right?
Yes.
We're gonna do a firmware update on another planet.
Yeah, there's no ST-Link on Mars.
Hey, Rover, can you go please push the bootloader button real quick?
Yeah.
And reboot power cycle the thing. Yeah, no.
So, Flight 9 was the one that just was completed. It was just, I believe, yesterday or this morning. It was actually completed. This is the planning document they talk about here. But basically, they sent this thing farther and faster than they've done this yet. So they sent 625 meters. They sent this thing. And it took them just over 166 seconds. So just over 2 minutes. And they actually flew. This is like different than any other flight. You know, basically they've said this thing's supposed to have been broken for like 2 months now, so they're just sending it. And they sent it over like a bunch of crazy terrain that they weren't really sure that the rover could get over. And they're taking pictures of all that terrain now to see if the rover will be able to make it across different sites. And it makes it a lot easier for navigation of the rover team. So yeah, it's just doing a lot more than they really expected, and it's still kicking.
Yeah, the Mars rovers really have a history of Obviously I don't have the full list in my head, but a lot of them have had much longer service lifespans than was originally planned for. So those guys are kicking butt.
Yeah, it's cool to see. It seems like we're going to keep seeing this until suddenly this thing.
Eventually it won't work.
Yeah, eventually it's going to stop working. So
it's going to crash. Surely it's going to go out with a crash, right?
I would assume so. Yeah. They're still working on a color video patch, I guess, to try to fix that color video issue. They're still navigating on black and white. So who knows how that'll go and stuff. But just Ingenuity is a really good name for that, because that's really ingenious. Like the fact that they can do all that on Mars. So
yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, keep it up, guys. I mean, it's almost silly because like when this first happened, everybody was like, there's a multi-rotor on Mars, and now we're like, oh, what are we up to, flight 9? Okay, yeah, we're flying on Mars. Get with the program.
Yes. Yeah, it's just normal. Now we're going 600 meters. So what's
600?
Up?
Yeah, get with it. Oh, you want color video? People are annoyed at our analog video. How would you like to not have color and latency? How much latency is there to Mars? What is it, like 20 minutes?
It's I think 11 minutes. I don't know. I have to look, but yeah.
Latency
like
to Mars, 8 minutes. I don't know. When they're at minimal distance, it's around 6 minutes. When they're farthest apart, it's around 40 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
That's
gotcha.
That's not milliseconds.
No.
All right, cool. Well, NASA, keep it up. Keep it up, NASA.
Yeah.
Next up, you actually asked me to research this issue for you yesterday, and as you probably were not surprised to hear, I haven't done it yet, but it turns out that MadsTech is on it. What is the issue? I'm not even sure I understand the issue. There's an issue with the firmware on the V2 DJI goggles.
Yes. Okay. So basically, MadsTech came out with a video. The V2 goggles had a previous problem. There was a video released that basically they made the 1.02 update. That update is only for the drone side of the goggles, but it would fix an issue where if the goggles restarted in the DIY mode, in the mode that we fly, then they would reboot in the drone mode and you couldn't switch back. That was the problem. That's what
the DIY mode
was
is the one where you're binding to air units and vistas. The drone mode is the one where you're binding to the DJI FPV drone that you totally own.
Yeah.
So if you ran the battery down in DIY mode, it would reboot into drone mode, and then if you didn't have the drone, you couldn't put it back into DIY mode, and you were screwed.
Correct. So MadsTech dug into this, told people not to buy it. DJI released an update from Pressure, and he put out an update, so everybody's been using that. But presumably, what I think, I'm going to guess what happened here is a lot of people didn't do it, because the only way to get the update is to go to the drone side to make the update happen. If you put your goggles on the DIY side and plug them in, it won't offer you the 1.02 update.
Right, because when you plug in and you're looking at the DJI FPV Assistant, it says here's the firmware that's available for your goggle, and the goggles are basically acting like a completely different piece of hardware depending on whether you're in the DIY mode or the drone mode.
Yes.
So you had to switch over to the drone mode, then plug into your computer, do the firmware update, and then switch back.
Yes.
So make sure I'm following you.
Yes. So for anyone that has done that or that flies both sides, there appears to be a new problem. And it's happened to enough people that, as far as I can tell, this is basically a thing now. And MadsTech's released a video about this. But basically, if you're on the 1.02 firmware and you're on the DIY side, so the air unit Vista side, and you're flying one out of every so many packs, the video just seems to go black. And it's unfortunate. Like, there's no real solution for it. But basically, the goggles just reboot. The video goes black, and you can't fly with your video.
That sort of makes sense. I'm just putting up this MadsTech video here. There's a link in the video description if you want to watch the whole thing. So credit for him. He was the one who drove the original firmware update that fixed the issue and then caused this issue. So here he is. He's documenting this some more. But the update had to do with the behavior of the goggles when they rebooted, when they powered down and rebooted. So I guess it's plausible that this is related, but there's no fix, is there? I mean, currently you either go back to the old version, and then if you power your goggles down, you're locked out.
Well, so here's my solution. Here's my Blunty solution for this, and I'm not sure Madstech might mention this in the video, but basically, here's what I think you should do. I think if you're on 1.02, I think you should roll back. I think you should switch to the FPV side. I think you should go back to the 0606 firmware, and that's going to kick you back out of that 1.02. And so you shouldn't have this blackout problem. And the reports are that is fixing the issue for people. Then, if your battery gets too low and it dies, and you get flipped to drone mode, then plug into your computer and update to 1.02 so that you can kick it back into DIY.
Oh, look at you.
Yes.
That's smart, because when you're in drone mode, you can update to the new firmware, the 102 firmware, and then you will have the option. They fixed the problem there, and then you'll be able to go back to, and then flash back to 0606.
Then you can roll back down so you don't have your blackout problem. Yeah. Hopefully DJI will address this quickly. Madstech just put out that video before the stream. I've been, PMing him a little bit, and we've been talking to different people. I've been trying to source like a reason this is happening, but it seems totally random. So.
And not everybody's being affected. There's people in the chat saying this didn't happen to me. I'm on 102. It's no problem. If you're on 102 and you're not having the problem, well, I mean,
I would roll back. I'm going to tell you, there's enough people. I thought yesterday I would have not told you that, but there, Burke 3D in the chat says rolling back to 0606 happened every 5 minutes for me on the new update.
But is it the kind of thing where if you've been flying for 5 hours and it hasn't happened, you're probably safe? Or is it the kind of thing where it could hit you at any time?
Sure. I mean, that's probably the case. If you've been flying for like 5 hours, you're probably okay. But from what I'm hearing about it, I would expect that most people are going to see this in the first like 10 packs, 15 packs they put in. Okay. And we really don't want to see them like lose a quad because they like trusted it or whatever. So
If you like updated a few days ago and you've been flying and it hasn't happened to you, then perhaps you're safe. But if you're thinking about updating, or if you just updated, probably you should roll back. That's your advice.
Yep.
And maybe you should roll back anyway.
Yeah, and then hopefully we'll see an update or something from DJI to fix this, like a 1.0201 or whatever it would be, that fixes this issue. Hopefully they can identify that. So.
And technically the lockout issue is fixed. There's this intermediary firmware that you should never fly on, but if you get locked out of your goggles, it provides you a path back to 0606, which you can then use.
Yes. So. Captain Brian in the chat says, sure, but it's HD black. You can't get that level of black on analog.
Right, it's 720p black.
Yeah.
It's way better.
Yeah.
Super better. Okay. Alrighty, well, thank you to Madstech for his work. There's no doubt that he is a great source of information on the DJI V2 goggles, has been since before they came out, and I dare say has the ear of DJI and is driving the development.
Yes.
Hopefully they will fix this issue. Inside the mind of... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, he's definitely the one I've been reaching out to. If I have any DJI stuff, I just been shooting it to him and trying to get him into it. So if you guys have any issues with DJI or whatever, he seems to be the guy. So I don't know if he wants it or not, but shoot him messages and let him know.
Yeah. Inside the mind of, I can't find his comment again. Oh, inside the mind of Matt. It says this is only the V2, not the V1, right?
Yes.
Because the V1 doesn't have any of these problems.
Correct. Yeah, the V1 hasn't had an update in 9 months or 11 months or whatever it is. So.
Still flying it. I still fly the V1s as my dailies.
Me too.
Why? Laziness. Pure laziness.
It
working
works
for me. Well, technically, no. If you put, never mind. I was going to say that the multi-band means you have worse range, but you could just put 5 gigahertz antennas on the V2s and then you're fine. So never mind.
Yeah.
Someday there will be a feature that's released for the V2 goggles and not the V1 that I'll go, oh, I got to have that. But I'm flying the V1 still. So, alrighty. Great. Let me get a couple more super chats. Rick M, thank you for $20 super chat. Vanover, Rick says that was funny, referring to Vanover's bit. Really appreciate the $20. Rotor Riot. So I should give that to Drew or Vanover. TA, thanks for another $5 super chat. Did we crash land magnetically grabbing matter and land in the center and we all crawled out? Nice. Thank you, Gemfan, for Gemfan's talking about the prop recall, giving details out in the chat. Thank you, Gemfan, for being here. I know that, it's just our little live stream with just 574 people watching right now, but I know that People really appreciate it when vendors take the time to actually be present in the FPV community and not just sort of sitting up on high, giving us products. So good that you're here.
I'll say too, like as a company, like, you know, that means they hired some guy that's like happy to sit here and like communicate with us and like be part of the community and do stuff. Like, I don't know, that's just like, yeah, there's a lot to that. It's not easy to find, and it takes a lot of work to foster that. And yeah, we're happy to have them. So
yeah, I mean, it's in some ways it's an obvious step, and yet it's a step that some companies don't take, and not just in FPV, but in all areas, because it's hard to find someone who can speak for your company and also be in touch with your customers, right?
Yes.
You could always hire some PR drone who will quote the party line and be completely out of touch with your customers, and you could always hire some grungy FPV pilot who's just going to talk shit and get you in trouble. And finding one guy who can do both of those things is a challenge. Can we expect a video on Edge TX? Asks Koen van den Elsen. I am starting to research to do a video on Edge TX. However, what I concluded from my research is that Edge TX is still way too preliminary. Blunty, are you involved in Edge TX development?
I'm not involved. Well, I'm following it. I've been talking to Raphael. Yeah, they're just on RC3 right now, so they're just working through the RCs. It's taking a little longer to get the candidates out. RC3 is pretty stable. I've talked to a lot of people that are using it. RC1 had some issues, but RC3 seems pretty stable. I think any day, you know, I think they're hoping to get it out, but I think they just keep finding bugs and issues, and more people keep installing it, and there's more this and that.
I think I want to give them a chance to get to V1.0. Especially because it's their very first release. There's a lot of potential for issues. What I don't want to do is, while they're still trying to sort things out, send them 1,000 people who download something with bugs and get a bad experience.
Yeah.
And RC 1.0 will be stable. It will be missing features, but it'll at least be stable and people can get a sense of it.
When 1.0 release actually comes out instead of just the release candidates, that's when I was hoping to put it on the news. Hopefully we'll see the press go out and everybody can feel comfortable installing that. So yeah,
looking forward to it. Looking forward to the touch screen on my Radio Master finally working. I've seen videos of people using the touch screen. It's really cool.
If you're desperate, you can go install the RC right now, but yes,
you can. Let's see, Blunty, we got a couple minutes. We got a question coming in about the TBS 69. The TBS 69. Let's put that up. 69. You know, what is this, Blunty? Tell us about it. Nope.
This is a new VTX and RX. They have a Tracer and a Crossfire edition from TBS.
Mm-hmm. A 20 millimeter board with a receiver on board and a video transmitter in one. That's really cool. The comparison to the Ghost Hybrid, obviously, has to be made. And to their credit, I have yet to hear anyone actually claim that the Hybrid copied this, which would be hard since it came out first, but you never know with TBS fanboys. Don't call it a hybrid unit. It's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of the hybrid. I used it on my racing build. It's really cool how you can change the VTX settings without using Betaflight Smart Audio. And that's something that has existed in Crossfire for a long time, but a lot of people don't use it because either they don't know it exists or they don't know how to wire it up. It simplifies your build for sure. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And $50. I mean, that's the price of a Unify once upon a time. So now you're getting basically a free Tracer receiver. So.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Let's see. The comment on the 69 that I least expected was someone said, because of the naming of this product, it can't be shipped into Saudi Arabia. Can we get a product with a halal name, please? Because it's a sexual reference. It's like, wow, really? Okay.
Is it explicitly a sexual reference though?
I mean, I guess I don't know. Maybe he was joking. If you live in Saudi Arabia, let us know if that's legit. Alrighty, let's get the last piece out. We got 10 minutes till the end of the stream. Bunty, you have a rant. I'm not sure what you mean by it. You say mystery targets are stupid. What is a mystery target?
Well, for example, JHE you might be familiar with them. I've been helping Brap in the Discord, over in our Discord, source a target for that board. And guess what? There's no publicly available target. There was no anything, and the mappings were different than the JHE 405 target that is in beta flight that is meant to be flashed to that board.
That is the exact flight controller that I have in my Tiny Trainer.
Yeah.
You can't get... How do you flash it?
He had to get an email from JHE MCU that sent him the config file and the firmware file, like, manually.
Because if you have the config file, then you can flash the generic FX722 target and just paste in the config file.
Yeah, so this is the 405, not the 722. But yes.
Okay.
Yes, but yeah, you can just paste in the config file if you have it. So, like, basically, for him to get... It came on 4.1. So, like, the only way a user could have handled this without contacting JHEMCU to get to 4.2 is they would have had to dump 4.1, like manually do the resource mappings for 4.2, flashing to the generic JHE 405 target. And like when you flash that target, the gyro doesn't work. Like there's no.
Oh yeah, nothing works. The generic target, nothing works.
Yeah.
Now,
it's a generic target with some of their config, but it's like the wrong config for the board.
If you had the 4.1, so you buy the flight controller, you have the 4.1 config. Yes. If you dump that and then flash to 4.2 using the generic config, can you paste in the resource assignments and stuff from 4.1 and it's good to go?
I think you have to mess with like how you would do it. Like I think you can't do it all. I think you have to do, I don't know. I haven't actually tried to do that paste, but I think you'll get some errors there and you have to manually resolve some of that stuff.
The bottom line is JHEMCU is selling a flight controller to the public and there is no clean way for people to upgrade it to, and it's got Betaflight 4.1 on it. What are you thinking?
Sure. Well, and also if you did the thing that most people do, which is make a diff, right? So you would not have that information.
Yes.
Because it's their custom target that probably doesn't have a diff from their config file.
Well, the diff, the thing is, a diff, if you diff, then all of the resource assignments won't come out because they're not they're not the difference. You need a dump. Yeah.
And so like most people don't do a dump on their fresh like flight controller. They just do a diff to make sure they get any changes or whatever, and then they reflash the target. So then he went to reflash the target on 4.2, nothing worked, and then he lost the resource mappings and had to wait on a response from the manufacturer. So anyway, a couple of different things here I want to rant about. One is that, like, hey, make sure you dump all your boards just in case, because people do weird shit. There's weird mappings and assignments. They add like a weird gyro, and it's a revision of a board that you don't know about. Make sure that you're doing that dump just in case, because you never know what's going to happen.
And you're saying when you first get the board, you've got a brand new flight controller, you just bought it.
Yeah.
The first thing you should do is plug it into the USB and do a dump all and save that. I usually don't do that until after I've set up the flight controller, and I'll do a diff all. And my thinking is, why would I do a config dump on a brand new? I'll just default it. But the problem is that if the vendor hasn't published it, you can't just flash it and you just don't know what all that stuff is.
Yeah, the only way you can truly know what's on that board is to do a dump. So just in case you can't get that information, I think the dump always makes sense. And it takes 5 seconds, to do. You type it in, you paste it in a notepad, and you save it. And then you've got it, right? And the other thing is, like, to the manufacturers that are making these mystery boards with targets and stuff, like if, most users are not going to want to buy a board that gets stuck on a flight control software from a year and a half ago.
No.
So to me, it is your responsibility to either state on that flight controller that, hey, we are not going to make a target past 4.1. This is the last target you will ever get. When you buy this board, you know that. Or you are committing to making new targets for these boards and publishing them.
Well, the irony is, so first of all, I want to follow up. Snoopy in the Discord says that if you do the 4.1 dump, then you can go to 4.2. He just did it. And that makes sense because the resource assignments should be the same between different versions. It's other things will change, but the resource, the DMA, the timers, and the stuff that is used to finalize the configuration of the generic target. So that's good to know. But there's no reason, like once that stuff has been submitted to the Betaflight devs as a target definition, it's just there, right? They just carry it forward. So
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I think the problem is that target was never submitted properly because that
Exactly.
Target
That's what I'm getting at. Is that
Yeah.
JHEMCU needs to, and I don't know the exact mechanism. It was done for when I did my flight controller. It was done for us by one of the Betaflight devs. He submitted the pull request on our behalf. So maybe that's how it's done. But the bottom line is that the manufacturer of the flight controller sends this configuration information to the Betaflight. They submit a pull request or whatever, and it seems like JHEMCU haven't done that for some reason, or maybe they did and it hasn't been accepted.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that is. As far as I can tell, it wasn't submitted. I think Brap was trying to get it submitted just so he can, so everybody else doesn't have to deal with that for that board,
Do you think JHEMC just doesn't know the procedure?
I mean, they have
can't
done
read their
targets.
minds.
They have done targets before. They have a list of targets in Betaflight, so I assume they have to know the procedure. I'm going to call out another company here too, because it's not just JHEMCU. I've had this exact same problem with Newbie Drone. I have a Newbie Drone Hummingbird F4 Pro that still doesn't have the target I was promised in October. I was added by an admin in their Discord and told that I would have a target within a week, and I still do not have a 4.2 target for my Hummingbird Pro. It is stuck on 4.1. That's to me, that's not an acceptable way to behave, especially when you tell me you're going to get a target. But I don't know. I just think if you're going to release stuff like this, make sure people know.
Yeah, I can tell you when we released the JBF7 flight controller, at the time that we started selling it, there was not a Betaflight target for it, and we published the CLI dump so you would flash the generic STM32 target, and then you would paste in the CLI dump, and there were instructions for how to do that. And then eventually it got added to Betaflight, and now you don't have to do that anymore. But that seemed like obviously you can't sell a flight controller when people don't have the ability to update the firmware. Some people are.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Just my little rant there, but I want to use Red Pine on my Hummingbird F4 Pro, but Red Pine was added in 4.2. So I can't use Red Pine on my Hummingbird F4 Pro because Newbie Drone hasn't made a new target for it.
Well, that's they need to be doing that. So yeah. Snoopy in the Discord says the main issue is they have multiple F411 boards and they're not wired up the same. So just because you have two JHEMCU boards with an F411 processor doesn't mean that they'll have the same resource mapping, and you can't necessarily copy that stuff between them. He also says JHEMCU did submit several targets, but not the exact target of this one, and this one wasn't properly documented. I don't know how Snoopy knows these things, but he seems to think he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, this is an F405 board, not the F411. But...
Yeah, okay. Squishy7 in the Discord says, Newbie Drone is famous for putting stuff in their firmware that won't get accepted into Betaflight, and it's up to them to compile their own firmware. B-Sign is the biggest offender with regards to the Hummingbird.
Yeah, B-Sign is so stupid. I mean, I'm sorry, but B-Sign is just dumb. I
Is
don't know how much money...
OSD that's run over a UART?
Yeah, they build a OSD into their board that's automatically on a UART that is exposed to the user, and if you do anything with that UART, it bricks the board and you have to DFU it again. And you can only DFU those boards with a battery, so you get confused when you try to DFU them, because if you try to DFU them normally with the boot button, it doesn't work, so you have to plug in a battery and then you get confused. Anyway, I've been through that.
Wow, you can't... Wow, okay, well that's a whole different rant. We'll save that for next week.
Yes.
All right, so...
Use the normal OSD chip is my rant.
Yeah. The takeaway, though, is when you first get your board, you should... Okay, first of all, manufacturers, if you sell a flight controller, it should be in Betaflight, or if it's not, then on the product page, there should be a link to the CLI dump and instructions for how to flash it, because people should be able to flash boards that they buy, obviously.
And also an understanding of hey, either we're going to maintain this or not. So hey, this is the version you're going to get. We might do ones in the future, but we don't know. Or say hey, we're going to do ones and then do them. I feel like there has to be the user's going to expect you to update this firmware. Unless you say, I'm not going to update this firmware. That's the way I would look at it.
I got to say,
every other FC does that.
I don't want to contradict you, but I think that once you submit the target definition, it carries forward until Betaflight stops supporting F3s.
A Newbie Drone can't submit their target because
that's it. Yeah. Brain FPV is another one. Brain FPV doesn't go through that process. They build their own targets, and you have to download them from the Brain FPV website. So if you're going to be like that, then you have to commit to continuing to support it. I see. Yeah, you're right. And then as users, when you first get your flight controller, you need to do a dump all and a diff all. Dump all when you first get it, and that gives you your resource definitions. And then you can start flashing it and stuff. And then after you configure it, do a diff all, and that's your configuration. So
yeah.
Brep says it's the F405s that are the problem, not the F411. I mean, I'm just throwing out. I said STM32, this and that. I'm just talking. I don't know. Yeah, it's the F405s. Fine. Vampire says, didn't iFlight do that with the twin gyro crap? You had to go to their site to get the firmware. Sort of, Vampire. I think iFlight did it correctly. When iFlight released, I don't remember which line of flight controllers it was, but when they first released it, you would flash the generic Betaflight target, and then you would download the CLI dump from iFlight's website and paste it in. That is a completely valid way to distribute a firmware update, and in fact is one of the benefits of Betaflight generic targets. Anyone can do this without having to do a pull request through the Betaflight devs. Obviously, you'd rather they do a pull request and get it into the configurator, but there's nothing wrong with what iFlight did.
Also, I have one more like a mini rant,
Okay.
which is basically the other problem that I see a lot is like if you go to the manufacturer's website or if you go to like any of the pages that have that like flight controller listed in the first Google page, none of them like list the target because it's not either not pasted or like enforced by the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Like that should be something like make sure when you first put up your information about your FC to anyone, to your to your like retailers and everything, it's got that information in line.
It drives me crazy.
Because all your retailers are going to take that and paste it into their website.
Yes,
so that
it
means
drives me
every
crazy.
retailer is not going to have that target available. So please make sure it's listed first. And then if your retailers don't have it, go tell them like, hey, can you edit and add this? Like it's so important. So
yeah, when someone says, hey, I've got this flight controller and I don't know how to flash it, and for whatever reason they can't get into the flight controller to do it, to find the version, or they've already flashed the wrong firmware to it. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'll just go to the product page. And it's like, what Betaflight target is this? And a lot of times it's not there. It's critical information. So.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Good rant. And now we come right up on the end of the hour. I'll get a last couple super chats out. Rick M, thank you for a $5 super chat. He says, don't hold back, Blunty. Yeah, that newbie drone rant. Man, I felt your pain there. Michael Hill, thanks for a $5 super chat. That's going to do it, folks, for the FPV news. Thank you so much for coming out. We will have more news for you next week. All the FPV news that's fit to print. Fit to print, talk about, record, video, whatever. Well, thank you so much, Blunty, for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joshua, for being here. Just so a reminder for everybody, if you don't know, shoot an email to news@fpvknowitall.com right there on the screen, the whole show, if you missed it. If you have any news that we missed, we want to make sure we get it, so we don't want to miss it. Yeah. And then also go down and subscribe to this channel. Give a like to this video. Do a comment down there, whatever you feel like. Let us know that you liked the video or that you didn't. Yeah, have a great day.
And Blunty, hey, keep working on that trombone juggling, and I hope you don't injure yourself again.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, just the one.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Happy flying to everybody. We'll see you next week.
All right, later, guys.
All right.